The Earth is getting colder day by day. Since 1971, we have lost 90% of our glaciers and ice sheets. Scientists predict that if this trend continues, all of the remaining glaciers could disappear within the next 2 centuries. You might think that we won't notice any significant changes, but even a slight decrease in temperature can cause humanity to go extinct, as it did with dinosaurs. So how will we survive the next ice age? And what are some things that only now we are noticing because our planet is about to enter another ice age? Welcome to my channel. Today we will find out. In summer, the sun beats down on the Earth with might and main, but at night the temperature drops so much that people have to hide from the cold in caves or under trees. A few layers of warm animal skins help to survive, but they don't save from hunger. Hunting woolly mammoths no longer helps to solve this problem. One gets tired of eating meat, and there's nothing to replace agriculture. You can't grow food in such cold. The Ice Age began around 11,500 years ago and lasted until about 12,900 years ago. People survived somehow. Some of them died of starvation, others moved south to warmer regions, but those who stayed, put simply, went insane. They were driven crazy by a lack of vitamins, especially vitamin D, which is essential for normal brain function. Experts believe that due to a lack of sunlight and the corresponding lack of vitamin D, the inhabitants of the northern regions suffered not only from depression, but also from schizophrenia. Thus, the Ice Age tested people for their endurance. Only the strongest and most enduring survived. What would you do to stay alive during the Ice Age? It doesn't sound like an easy test. An expedition led by scientists from Durham University has just discovered an ancient burial site in central Siberia. It was here that the remains of more than 130 people from 3 different cultures who lived there between 33,000 and 40,000 years ago were found. In total, 18 skeletons have been excavated from this site over the past few decades, but one of them turned out to be very unusual. Researchers examined the remains and came to the conclusion that one of the men was eaten after death. Bones bear clear marks of butchery, and the remains show signs of burning. Anthropologist at Durham University and lead author of the study, Dr. Natalie Schilling, said, "Our analysis suggests that the Predmos people practice cannibalism as part of their ritual practices. What is hidden behind these rituals? Perhaps they were trying to get at least some nutrition from their fellow tribesmen. After all, surviving the Ice Age was hard enough. To survive, you had to constantly be on the lookout for new food sources. And humans are inventive when it comes to finding food. The Ice Age lasted so long that humans learned to fish through the ice, invented harpoons, traps, and nets. Also, they domesticated dogs to help hunt large prey. Of course, mammoths and other large animals were hunted, but catching small prey was no less important for human survival. The bones of lemmings, voles, and other rodents were often found near human settlements. Scientists suggest that this was not just a coincidence. Back then, humans already used sophisticated tools and weapons to hunt these small animals. Scientists believe that the transition to hunting small prey was a turning point in the history of human development. We don't know exactly why our ancestors chose this particular type of hunting, but researchers from Durham University suggest that this may have been due to the need to change your diet. Remains of small mammals have been found in many places where humans lived during the last Ice Age. It follows that these animals were not only hunted, they were probably also eaten. People managed to adapt to living alongside dangerous predators. However, this coexistence was sometimes interrupted by wars between species. In winter, a group of Neanderthals huddled around a fire in a cave, trying to keep warm. Outside, a blizzard rages and the wind howls like a hungry wolf. Suddenly, a young man named Riga notices something strange. He sees a hyena dragging its prey across the snow. The man grabs his spear and runs outside. There is a fight between the Neanderthal and the hyena. Both are strong opponents. However, the hyena, despite its ferocity, loses. Humans learn to use fire, which gives them an advantage over animals, and yet the hyena almost manages to snatch the carcass. Rigor strikes the beast mortally, but the hyena manages to flee. The Neanderthal man gives chase. Soon he catches up with the animal and delivers the final blow. It is a female hyena, and she was trying to feed her cubs. Rego couldn't stand it and gave her a piece of meat. Hyenas were considered pests. They competed with humans for food and were carriers of diseases. Hyenas also posed a real threat to humans. Although Neanderthals were physically stronger than modern humans, they still lost fights against hyenas. Moreover, they were forced to flee from their caves. Yes, hyenas could have easily killed Neanderthals, but they preferred to drive them away and steal their food. Among the most recent discoveries in the field of paleontology, there was a find that surprised the whole world. A complete skeleton of a young girl nicknamed Shelley was discovered in the Siberian permafrost. She lived during the Ice Age, 40,000 years ago. Her relatives were short, stocky people who lived in the Arctic. They belonged to the species Homo sapiens. Among the most recent discoveries in the field of paleontology was the discovery of a complete skeleton of a young girl dubbed Shelley, who lived in Siberia during the Ice Age, 40,000 years ago. Scientists say that she and her relatives looked like little people. They were short, stocky people with big brains who lived in the Arctic. They belonged to the species Homo sapiens. The girl's skeleton was discovered in 1997, but it took researchers several years to clean the permafrost from the bones. As it often happens, archaeologists made another remarkable discovery along with the skeleton. Near the girl's body, they found fragments of mammoth bones with traces of cuts. Judging by the shape of the cuts, the prehistoric people had knives made of stone. Researchers suggested that the girl's relatives hunted mammoths and other large animals, but scientists have no exact idea how they did it, since they never found weapons, shelters, or other material traces of the girl's relatives. And that's really surprising, since people back then already knew how to make tools and weapons from stone. Perhaps the girl's relatives were not particularly advanced, but even that didn't stop them from surviving during the Ice Age. Even though the climate became drier and colder, life still went on. Humans continued to multiply and gradually populated the entire planet. Now let's return to our story. The Neanderthal brings the prey back to the cave and throws it at the feet of the elder. "I brought you what you asked for," says Rego. The elder nods in response. He examines the carcass and says, "It will last us a few days, but we must prepare for the worst. Winter is coming. Food will become scarce, and we won't be able to hunt every day. The beasts themselves will hide in their holes and wait out the cold. The elder is right. Winter is coming. Heavy snowfall, blizzards and frosts are all ahead. Animals hide in their holes and plants die off. No birds sing anymore. Silence reigns. People huddle around a fire in caves, desperately trying to keep warm. But even the warmest cave can't protect from the cold. If there isn't enough wood to keep the fire going, people die of hypothermia. And the worst thing is that all the stories that I told you today are true. Unfortunately, science cannot give an unambiguous answer to the question of whether people will survive the next ice age. The only thing we can count on is ourselves. That's what the experts say. We can only hope that we won't repeat the mistakes of our ancestors. Then maybe we'll manage to survive. By the way, do you think we are currently experiencing the first signs of a new ice age? Let me know in the comments below. I'm sure you have something to say. Thanks for watching. See you later.